Hey folks, Jackdaw here. Since it is spring and we are closely nearing the summer reveal of Dragon Age Dreadwolf, and considering it has been a hot second since I have discussed Dad's development at length, I'm here today to give you a complete rundown on everything you need to know about Dreadwolf's progress so far from 2015 to 2024. You know the drill. Now, I've organised everything with timestamps for each year, making it easy for you to navigate through the entire development of Dad. This way, if you are already familiar with a bunch of news, you can quickly jump to the most recent updates by year. With that said, grab yourself a hot beverage, some snacks, and let's dive extensively into Dreadwolf's entire development so far, starting from 2015. So after the 2015 release of the Dragon Age Inquisition Trespasser DLC, Dragon Age began pre-production for its next chapter, codenamed Project Joplin, led by creative director Mike Laidlaw. Dragon Age lead writer David Gaider was reassigned to BioWare's new IP Anthem before Trespasser's release, with Patrick Weeks taking over as lead writer of the Dragon Age franchise. Insiders familiar with Project Joplin praised its promising direction, as the team aimed to learn from previous mistakes and implement efficient development tools, having had more experience with the Frostbite engine. The project's main focus was on heists in Tevinter, prioritizing player choice, followers, reactivity, and player depth, albeit on a smaller scale than Inquisition. Despite being in its very early stages, many developers were enthusiastic about the project's ambitious vision and its creative potential. In 2016, Project Joplin faced a major setback during pre-production when several team members were reassigned to work on Mass Effect Andromeda, and these developers were noted in the Andromeda credits as the Dragon Age finalizing team. Additionally, in February 2016, lead writer David Gaider left BioWare after a year of work on Anthem due to differences in narrative direction. His departure coincided with a complete story reboot for Anthem, with new lead writers taking charge. After the release of Mass Effect Andromeda in March 2017, BioWare shifted its attention to Project Joplin. However, by late 2017, Anthem faced significant difficulties, leading EA to cancel Joplin's development in October. This decision came after 2 years of pre-production and the departure of creative director Mike Laidlaw. Following the cancellation, most of Joplin's core team moved to Anthem, with a smaller skeleton team returning to work on a new Dragon Age project codenamed Morrison. Led by Inquisition's art director Matthew Goldman, Morrison aimed to reboot the franchise using Anthem's technology and included a mysterious live service component built for long-term gameplay and revenue. In December 2018, BioWare teased the next Dragon Age game during the Game Awards, igniting widespread anticipation for #The Dreadwolf Rises. Now, despite the ecstasy of hype and excitement at the time, the game had quietly undergone a complete reboot and was only in its initial pre-production stages. Lead developers, however, assured fans of their commitment to preserving the franchise's essence, promising an epic quest. Matthew Goldman, as creative director, expressed his confidence in delivering their best work yet. In hindsight, the Dreadwolf Rises teaser wasn't really an official reveal, but more of a message to the fans and also EA that something is certainly in progress with Dragon Age. And this teaser hinted at the continuation of Inquisition's story, exploring the Dreadwolf, Red Lyrium, and of course, Solas's plan. After Anthem's rocky launch in February 2019, the Dragon Age team, led by Mark Darrah, resumed work on the next installment. This led to the further stages of pre-production, now with a significant staff returning to the project. During BioWare's pre-production phase, typically involving 5 to 60 people, the team focuses on iterating core concepts, prototypes, and systems, with a strong emphasis on narrative tools and defining key game features alongside a a little bit of market research. And throughout Morrison's pre-production, the team accomplished various tasks including voice acting, concept art creation, in-engine prototypes, and gameplay tests. In August of 2019, Fernando Mello, a key producer in the Dragon Age series, left BioWare after almost a decade. Mello expressed confidence in the project's leadership and its team, believing Morrison would offer the most definitive Dragon Age experience. He looked forward to experiencing the game, this time as a fan, and his departure marked the beginning of the main production stages of Morrison, beginning in late 2019 to early 2020, around that time frame. In March 2020, amidst the pandemic, BioWare held an internal meeting to review the story of the next Dragon Age game. Lead producer Sila Costa expressed the team's excitement and confidence in delivering a very compelling narrative with amazing characters that many developers were eager to share more details about. After spending at least 2 years in pre-production, the team transitioned to the main production stage, focusing on content and feature development. Despite the pandemic's challenges, the team size expanded as development progressed, with adapted communication and development strategies in place. Online insights into Dreadwolf's production emerged, including work on romance scenes, playtesting, reaching milestones, and patented mechanics. And in 2020, BioWare constantly kept us all engaged and informed with a series of teasers and trailers showcasing the project's progress. Highlights including a 12-second in-engine clip at EA Play 2020, a behind-the-scenes look at Gamescom 2020, and a story cinematic trailer at the Game Awards 2020, which all fueled so much hype among DA fans. Concept art from each of these teasers revealed diverse locations and characters, from Mortalitasi necromancers to Antivan crows and the Qunari. Regions like Antiva, Tevinter, the Alafan Forest, and the Yanderfels were all conceptually drafted. And of course, the release of Tevinter Nights kicking off 2020 only added to the thrill, with a variety of stories introducing many aspects of the current state of Thedas prior to Dragon Age Dreadwolf. I would have to say that 2020 so far has marked one of the most thrilling, exciting parts in Dragon Age Dreadwolf development, but also just in the fandom. In November of 2020, BioWare officially confirmed the existence of Project Morrison, which was previously unofficially leaked through a Kotaku report by Jason Schreier. EP Mark Darrah led this ambitious endeavour set in the Tevinter region, exploring the ongoing impact of events from Inquisition and Trespasser on Thedas. And this confirmation all came through a book documenting the studio's game development history. The book also unveiled the Wolf Rook book, which summarised the vision of the revised Joplin project. So despite the cancellation and the reboot of Joplin, many of its original ideas are expected to transition into Morrison, which is at least one silver lining. However, November also saw the departure of gameplay designer Melissa Janowicz after 3 years with the studio. In December, just before Dragon Age Day, there was also a significant shake-up at BioWare as Mark Darrah and Casey Hudson both decided to say goodbye. Christian Daly took over as the new executive producer for Dragon Age, and Gary McKay became the interim general manager of BioWare. Despite both their departures, Darrah and Hudson expressed confidence in the franchise's future and BioWare's commitment to it. Now, Hudson left in December 2020, pretty much basically immediately, while Darrah stayed on until February 2021 to help with Christian Daly's transition into the executive producer role. Interestingly though, of course, Darrah has since returned as a consultant in 2023, but we'll explore that when we get to that year. In February 2021, BioWare made a pivotal decision to cancel Anthem Next and redirected their focus to Dragon Age, Mass Effect, and SWTOR. Christian Daly, who had a huge role in Anthem's development, supported this decision. And as if by fate, the very next day, Bloomberg reported that Dreadwolf, which had initially focused heavily on multiplayer aspects, had recently shifted direction. Members of BioWare's leadership team had championed this change, resulting in the removal and reworking of of live service and multiplayer elements. Instead, they aimed to craft a laser-focused single-player experience for the next Dragon Age adventure. One of, if not the most positive updates we've had. However, this undeniably had somewhat of a reboot, rework effect, inevitably delaying the game's development. In March, narrative quality designer Aaron the Bray left the Dragon Age team after dedicating 14 years to BioWare. In May, audio artist Presley Hines also bid farewell to Dragon Age. June brought further changes when director Gabe Hyland followed suit. Meanwhile, Gary McKay was officially confirmed as BioWare's studio general manager, solidifying his position after serving as the interim GM since Casey Hudson's departure in December 2020. He reaffirmed his focus on delivering exceptional single-player BioWare games. I think if we pause for a second, this is a really interesting time to dissect because despite the really good news of Dragon Age's single-player pivot, a bunch of developers suddenly decided to flee the studio. In July, VentureBeat reporter Jeff Grubb said that Dragon Age Dreadwolf was expected to see the light of day in 2023, with more details on the horizon for 2022. By September of that year, principal UX designer Asa Roos left the Dragon Age team, while BioWare welcomed new talent in the form of Gabby Soto, who joined as a lighting artist, and Derek Wilkes, who took on the role of a cinematic designer. And in October, associate quality designer Scott Correll also made his exit from the Dragon Age team. And then in November, a bombshell development rocked the entire Dragon Age team, and of course, the entire fandom, as creative director Matthew Goldman unexpectedly announced his departure from BioWare. This decision was the result of a mutual agreement between him, BioWare, and EA leadership to part ways, effectively immediately. And the exact reasons behind this very sudden exit still remain shrouded in mystery today, with details at the time only coming to light through a leaked staff email to Kotaku. We have a few more pieces together that we'll talk about towards the end, but it just goes to show that despite having such a good, positive update of the single-player pivot, shit hit the fan in 2021, and management seems to be right at the centre of it. Wrapping up the year in December, on Dragon Age Day, BioWare provided a reassuring update to fans regarding the game's single-player development. They pledged to unveil more details in 2022, instilling a little bit of hope in the Dragon Age community, but really, in hindsight, we didn't get much in 2022, to be honest. In January of 2022, General Manager Gary McKay addressed BioWare's ongoing situation during the pandemic. He praised the team's adaptability and successful use of brand new tools and communication methods to maintain work-life balance. Gary also emphasized that the next Dragon Age would provide a captivating single-player experience with significant choices, and he expressed confidence in the studio's ability to fulfill their commitments, supported by their creative focus and EA's unwavering support, also stating that they have the right team in place, which in my opinion indicates that certain leadership team members perhaps weren't the right fit for the job. In personnel updates, January saw video editor Alex Calaros joining and technical animator Cez Young, while also bidding farewell to senior designer Graham Scott. Around this time, Jeff Grubb reported that Dreadwolf was firmly on track for a 2023 release, which we of course know isn't true. Not Jeff's fault, just hasn't married up that way properly. He also reported that the team is consistently meeting milestones and making substantial progress, which is where his 2023 release window came from. As the first month of the year drew to a close, Andrew Johnson, EA's manager of core community for Star Wars and BioWare titles, departed from EA. In February, a significant shift occurred as narrative director John Epler now assumed the role of creative director for Dreadwolf, following Matthew Goldman's enigmatic departure in November 2021. And this transition garnered immediate praise from none other than former BioWare writer David Gaider, who saw this as an incredibly positive development. Meanwhile, General Manager Gary McKay made the announcement that executive producer Christian Daly would be leaving the Dragon Age team. Nevertheless, Gary reassured fans that a robust leadership team was firmly in place. Mac Walters took on the role of production director, Corinne Bush assumed the mantle title of the game director, and Benoit Houle was appointed as director of product development. Even with Christian Daly's departure, he also expressed confidence in the team's capabilities and the project's progress, urging us all to maintain a positive outlook. Additionally, in a YouTube video, former executive producer Mark Darrah, who became a YouTuber since leaving his post at BioWare, he discussed his lack of concern regarding Dreadwolf's development, drawing parallels to the creation of Dragon Age Origins, highlighting that the team's changes and shifts in direction were integral to Origins' development, ultimately resulting in a fantastic game. And Darrah expressed trust in the collective vision and the creativity of the team working on Dreadwolf, underscored also by EA's recognition of the significance of quality and time. And then in April, QA analyst Alan Schumacher left BioWare. In late April as well, story artist Nick Thornborough left BioWare and the Dragon Age team after nearly 15 years of service. And in June, BioWare made the exciting revelation by unveiling the official title of the most anticipated Dragon Age game, calling it Dragon Age Dreadwolf, DAD for short. This reveal delved into the enigmatic character of the Dreadwolf, the game's formidable antagonist, and delivered the news that the game would not be gracing our screens in 2022, promising to share more details later in the year, which really didn't. We just got a Solas and Varric trailer again, but we'll come to that soon. Former executive producer Mark Darrah tweeted a rejected title, which was kind of teasing a joke, but still somewhat teased the plot. Title being Dragon Age Minrathous Nights, which in my opinion just hints at a huge focus on Tevinter's capital city, which we also know for a fact now that we will be visiting. So it did confirm what I initially thought anyway. Jeff Grubb also confirmed that Dreadwolf was still over a year away, and don't we flippin' know it. Furthermore, in June, animation director Mike Jungbluth also bid farewell to BioWare just after the title's official name was revealed. Another director leaving, which is insane. Fast forward to September, BioWare continued to stoke the flames by sharing intriguing insights into the game's storytelling aspects, emphasizing the paramount role of narrative in the Dragon Age series and offering a glimpse into the process of writing and editing with 3 tantalizing codices as examples, one of them particularly hinting at the Mortal Tassi. In October, BioWare then made a significant announcement marking a milestone in the development of Dreadwolf, declaring the completion of production, now stepping into the alpha phase, a pivotal step indicating that the entire game is now fully playable. The team's focus now shifts towards the meticulous refinement of visuals, gameplay mechanics, and the crucial process of gathering valuable feedback via QA testers. And on Dragon Age Day 2022, an early cinematic for Dreadwolf was revealed, narrated by Varric Tethras, exploring Solas again, his role in creating the Veil, his plan to destroy the Veil, things that we already knew since Trespasser but once more regurgitated again for a marketing campaign. I would love to say that this could have been for new fans who don't know anything about the game and need to get up to speed, but really, why would you release a campaign like that so specific for brand new fans on a day like Dragon Age Day, which is tailored to the very esoteric fan base of Dragon Age? It doesn't make any sense. If you're going to do something like that, do it at a big event, not on Dragon Age Day. But of course, this cinematic hinted at Varric's return and featured elements from Dragon Age 2 as it showcased Solas now raising a mysterious weapon that I absolutely believe to be the Red Lyrium Idol, now featured as a blade, which we'll talk about when we get to 2023. So it at least gave us that tidbit, but we already knew that the idol belonged to Solas thanks to Tevinter Nights anyway, but I am grateful for that. And then in mid-December, while all was quiet and cozy around Christmas time, we got a somewhat melancholic update that Trevor Morris, the composer of Inquisition's beloved soundtrack, well, he announced that he will not be returning for Dreadwolf. Apparently, in a surprising turn of events, according to Trevor, BioWare have enlisted the services of Hollywood composer Hans Zimmer. And thanks to a track that actually came out in November 2023, we know this certainly to be the case. In late January 2023, Eurogamer reported that Mac Walters, a BioWare veteran of 19 years, more so known for his work on the Mass Effect trilogy and Andromeda, and since shuffling over to Dreadwolf as its production director, well, he decided to leave the studio. As I just mentioned, Walters had been serving as the production director for Dreadwolf, of course overseeing the entire stage. He took this role over since Christian Daly's departure, which led to a complete restructuring of BioWare's leadership, which I believe was also necessitated since former creative director Matthew Goldman's departure, as it most certainly left a bomb off in the studio. While another departure is obviously a massive loss, I feel like this one we can overlook because Mac's departure certainly aligns with the game's development progress pretty well, just like Fernando Melo, who left at the end of the pre-production stages of the game as production began. Well, Mac left by the time that the project had already reached its alpha phase and had finished its production stages, which was announced in October 2022. So he had been at the studio for an extra 3 months since technically fulfilling his role. I really don't think that one is as doom and gloom as it initially sounds as an SLT member leaving the team. And now in February we had a massive leak as anonymous sources provided insights into the development status of Dreadwolf, having playtested the game. They said that it had become evident that the game's release will not align with early rumours of 2023. And these reports indicated that crucial features were still missing from the game. Character storylines remained incomplete, and traces of its previous multiplayer focus still lingered. While some multiplayer elements were removed, a lot of them still remained like a central hub, even though the primary shift was now towards a single player experience. Gameplay-wise, elements like recruitment and crew management remained, but there was a notable shift towards a now hack-and-slash combat style similar to Final Fantasy XV, and playing as the hero's party companions seemed to have been removed this time around too. Voice lines and placeholders equally altogether hinted at a release date further down the line than 2023. Now, alongside this initial leaked report, Insider Gaming also shared further insights from somebody who actually had access to an alpha version of Dreadwolf, and in their own playtest experience, they explored the Grey Warden Fortress headquarters of Weishaupt, taking on the role of an elvish court knight class accompanied by Grey Warden party members. And during this gameplay that was leaked, one of the characters, Rook, was engaged in a conversation with Grey Warden Davrin, a brand new character introduced by Ike Amadi during the 2020 Gamescom behind the scenes development commentary, further proving the validity of this gameplay. Now, considering Rook is the only unnamed character in this gameplay leak, it is reasonable to assume that Rook will be the title for our new player character, just like a chess piece, a bird, or even an abbreviation for a rookie. Regardless, the gameplay showcased confrontations with Darkspawn, now infused with red lyrium, and the presence of an imposing dragon which introduced environmental hazards throughout the gameplay level. Combat had also evolved into a real-time experience with improved animations, including parrying and counters. The user interface design resembled that of Inquisition, and there was a hint at the potential return of origin stories for the next hero, since they were playing as a Grey Warden. While this leak stirred many mixed emotions at the time, it is of course essential to approach it with caution until its credibility is confirmed. Time will be the ultimate judge before we allow ourselves to become either too excited or too disappointed. However, one undeniable fact from this report is that Dreadwolf has indeed encountered a significant delay, which was the entire point of this leaked report anyway. In late February, BioWare highlighted the pivotal role of game designers in shaping player experiences in a blog post. They detailed the collaborative effort involving artists, programmers, and writers to create Dreadwolf. The post discussed the process of designing systems like skill trees, stressing the importance of vision, problem solving, analysis, prototyping, and UX design in crafting immersive player experiences and impactful choices. It additionally hinted at a potential skill tree wireframe for Dreadwolf, and this wireframe certainly seems like it's going to offer extensive options, allowing players to create satisfying combinations of skills and abilities. I'm hoping there's going to be ample flexibility in choosing different branches, especially if I'm going to be a mage. I want to be branching into different fire and ice branches, but then that enabling powerful spell combinations against enemies in real time. In March, former BioWare executive producer Mark Darrah made a surprise surprising, significant return to BioWare, now as a consultant for Dreadwolf. And so as a seasoned veteran integral to the previous Dragon Age games, in Dara's new role, he ensures Dreadwolf aligns with the franchise's legacy, which is something that many of us have worried about since the dawn of time, with live service and multiplayer elements, and this certain staff members left, and is Dragon Age ever going to be the same again? And so, of course, Mark is the perfect person to ensure its legacy is retained. While he won't resume his previous role as executive producer, because it literally doesn't exist anymore and has been dispensed into other senior team leadership members, Mark aims to contribute his expertise and perspective to maintain the franchise's integrity within the Dragon Age universe. Additionally to this update, Gary McKitt announced that the next Mass Effect team are now going to assist in the production and polishing of Dreadwolf as it moves up into higher gear. He reported that this collaboration is only possible because the next Mass Effect is only in its pre-production with a small core team dedicated to it, so they have the resources. And while he is putting, of course, his positive PR spin on it, this to me just sounds like it's Anthem and Andromeda all over again, exactly what happened with Project Joplin, taking a pre-production team away from their actual job and making them fix and polish a game that was literally on fire. I'm not saying the same for Dreadwolf, I'm just saying that BioWare has built a reputation for having way too many projects on at the same time and then taking one small core team away to then fix a project that has since in the past been on fire. Hopefully Dreadwolf isn't on fire, and I understand all hands on deck can be a good thing. I just hope it doesn't take too much away from the Mass Effect team. In late March, GamesIndustry.biz reported that EA is restructuring, laying off 6% of their workforce. There are hundreds of employees that were cut, but CEO Andrew Wilson said that the publisher is operating from a position of strength. Now, the impact of this restructuring became more evident in August as Gary McKitt outlined a strategic shift aimed at enhancing agility and focus, aligning with the evolving demands of the industry. The primary goal was to create exceptional story-driven single-player experiences, and somehow this led to the elimination of approximately 50 roles at the time. Several BioWare developers took to Twitter to announce their departure following layoffs. Among the notable departures are Renata Cronin, who served as a producer, Tim Griffith, a narrative programmer, John Renesh, the Foundation technical director, Brian Keeley, a manager, and writers Mary Kirby and Luke Chris Johnson. Highlighting the significance of a lot of these key roles departures and the immense talent now leaving the studio, David Gader, specifically writing about Mary Kirby, expressed, BioWare laid off Varric's creator, mistress of the Qunari, writer of the chant, who was there since Dragon Age's inception. How incredibly sad. Now, despite the fact that Gary McKay had said that Anthem Next was cancelled so that BioWare could put more work into Mass Effect, Dragon Age and Star Wars The Old Republic, there was actually a wave of layoffs back in June 2023 where BioWare actually outsourced the development of Star Wars The Old Republic to Broadsword Studio. And this as a whole represents a significant setback for BioWare. The fact that they initially thought that they had their priorities in set, removing Anthem Next from their roster of games, then focusing just on 3 projects, to then focusing on 2 projects, to then having a lot of the next Mass Effect team working on Dreadwolf, and now facing significant layoffs. Jeff Grubb shared insights into this, suggesting that Dragon Age Dreadwolf's release might be postponed into early 2025 due to many internal setbacks. Grubb speculated that the original plan was for Dreadwolf to release in September 2023, the same month as Baldur's Gate 3, but delays pushed the potential release to March 2024 or even summer of 2024, which we currently know is not true. He then stated that the release date is actually more so going to be anywhere from June 2024 to March 2025. These workforce reductions stem from EA's internal restructuring, moving away from relying solely on FIFA and Madden for financial support. Speculatively, I do feel like Anthem's massive failure had a part to play in this too, as it was initially built to support BioWare's revenue streams while they worked on building their single-player games. But unfortunately, it was a flop and didn't reach its desired outcome financially, as the project was also supposed to have a live service lifecycle for at least 10 years, further supporting BioWare into the future. Now, some suggest framing these actions as strategic restructuring or budgetary responses as a subtle way of phasing out BioWare, as many layoffs in the gaming industry have led to many such studio closures closures, and very close at home, just like BioWare Montreal after Mass Effect Andromeda, as a lot of the staff from that studio were slowly pushed into EA Motive as BioWare Montreal slowly closed down. It does raise a lot of questions, especially when so many core team members were let go while two massive projects are in progress. And I kind of just want to say this to Gary McKay myself, but with key individuals who literally shaped Dragon Age and Mass Effect and their essence is no longer in the studio and on these projects, maybe we should actually reconsider labeling these upcoming projects as Mass Effect or Dragon Age. Because if core staff members who literally infused these franchises with their own creative DNA are removed, can they truly remain the same? Now, I know there are still a lot of brilliant, beautiful veterans at BioWare, but even so, the layoffs are absolutely damning. And additionally, like, if the next Dragon Age title's progress is going so well, and someone like Mary is, quote, no longer needed, well, why not transition her to other projects, like potential Dreadwolf DLC, or the next Mass Effect game? It's very interesting, and it does make me wonder about the future of both IPs. However, in late September 2023, Keyword Studios terminated all contracts with its unionized QA workers following BioWare's decision not to renew its contract with them in August. These QA workers were initially hired to support playtesting and quality assurance efforts at BioWare Edmonton. After joining the UFCWCU in June 2022, negotiations with Keyword Studios were halted abruptly due to BioWare's announcement of 50 job cuts within the studio. Keyword Studios confirmed the layoffs, stating they were due to the completion of a fixed-term client contract. The layoffs took effect on September 27th, with no additional job opportunities available for these workers. UFCW has since filed an employment standards complaint against Keyword Studios over the unpaid severance packages of these employees. And speaking of unpaid severance packages, in October, 7 former BioWare employees filed a lawsuit seeking fair compensation after being laid off in August. They claimed BioWare only offered 2 weeks of severance per year of service instead of the standard 1 month. The lawsuit also alleges that BioWare didn't include health benefits in the package, despite employees serving an average of 14 years, and despite EA's reported $400 million net income in August, and also despite Gary McKay promising that the layoffs would be handled with, quote, empathy, respect, and clear communication. Now, the lawyer representing the 7 laid-off employees, Alex Kennedy, stated that BioWare has refused to engage in negotiations for improved severance packages. The lawsuit also brings attention to EA's Frostbite engine, a key factor in determining severance. Concerns arise over BioWare's reliance on Frostbite, potentially making it harder for developers to find new jobs. Now, Mary Kirby expressed her gratitude for the support by acknowledging the bittersweet nature of her departure, as Dreadwolf is the final project for her in the Dragon Age series. However, former Dragon Age writer Caitlin Sullivan-Kelly suggested accountability may lie with previous management, not current management at BioWare, which I think could regard the bombshell departure of a specific creative director in late 2021. This departure raises a lot of suspicion and seems like a topic that absolutely warrants a thorough investigation piece once Dreadwolf is finally out. But I'm going to touch on this even further at the end. In any case, the working conditions at BioWare last year did not appear to be particularly favourable. Former developers weren't and still aren't getting the severance they deserve. Layoffs were happening sporadically and actually still are, and the teams within the studio must have been living with constant fear of facing the same situation, and most likely still do. Now, in November, despite the mixed reports on Dreadwolf's release date, Kevin Scott, a senior cinematic at EA, has listed Dragon Age Dreadwolf as releasing in 2024 on their LinkedIn profile, and Jeff Grubb also reported that the game is, quote, doing well. Now, in December, on Dragon Age Day 2023, the most recent Dragon Age Day, BioWare unveiled Fadus Calls, a teaser for Dreadwolf promising a fresh narrative with new and familiar characters. The accompanying blog post highlighted the franchise's essence and teased a full reveal in the summer of 2024, hinting at answers to long-standing questions and even questions that we actually haven't even thought to ask. The blog hinted at revisiting familiar and new locations in Fadus, promising promising a richer narrative experience. Solas was portrayed as a nuanced character, not a simplistic villain, with good intentions but questionable methods. And the Steam page for Dreadwolf was live, allowing fans to wishlist the game. Most interestingly, the Steam page description hinted at the fate of Hades teetering on a knife's edge, possibly linking to Solas' pursuit of the Red Lyrium idol, as it can transform into a Red Lyrium ritual blade, and the Red Lyrium idol also belongs to Solas, so the world literally teeters on a knife's edge, as Solas is basically able to destroy the Veil at any point. And now in 2024, the current year, we didn't get many updates starting this year at all. In March 2024, Connie Booth, formerly a chief architect at PlayStation, joined EA as Group General Manager for Action RPGs. Her move reflects EA's focus on blockbuster storytelling, just like PlayStation's strategy. Booth's role is going to include overseeing BioWare, and she is specifically tasked with revitalizing the Dragon Age franchise amidst projects like Black Panther and Iron Man, but we don't care about those projects, we only care about Dragon Age. BioWare faced many challenges after Anthem and Andromeda. Booth's background is going to bring promise to franchises like Dragon Age and Mass Effect, as she is going to prioritize single-player experiences over live service strategies. But more importantly, she is addressing developer welfare, as it remains crucial amidst industry challenges. Improving leadership and processes at BioWare is essential for project success and maintaining a healthy work environment, which I 150% agree with. And of course, this is not Booth's fault, but in the exact same month, EA's continued internal restructuring led to approximately 670 job losses, of course impacting the Dragon Age team, most notably Jay Ingram, our community manager. Jay shared his layoff on Twitter, expressing optimism for the future, but also sharing his sadness at leaving BioWare. In the same month, EA and BioWare are confident about Dragon Age Dreadwolf releasing this year, according to Jeff Grubb. He obviously anticipates this summer reveal and then expects the game to hit the shelves later in the year. Now in April, of course, this month, bringing everything back up to today, a YouTuber user called Bilal something else commented on one of Mark Darrow's videos asking when Dreadwolf will be released? Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. And Mark simply replied, soon. So could that literally actually be soon? Or is it like soon? Or like soon? How soon is Mark Darrow's soon? Who knows, but there's a lot of hope and a lot of faith that soon is going to be 2024. Either way, we have not long to wait for that. And lastly, thanks to Reddit, an actor called Damien Gerard, who has appeared in a lot of video games, his portfolio briefly revealed character names for Dragon Age Dreadwolf before they were removed. However, Reddit managed to capture them before they disappeared. And so here are the following names. We have Olin, Marek, Lord Boragini, and Templar Captain. Of course, Templar Captain instantly resonates with Dragon Age. And Lord Boragini certainly does as well, suggesting a figure, in my opinion, reminiscent of an Antiva noble merchant prince, reflecting the socio-political landscape of Antiva. Now, Damien Gerard has portrayed numerous unnamed NPC characters across various video games, spanning from Nords and Elves in Skyrim to unnamed soldiers in Call of Duty. And with the fact that he almost immediately removed this, kind of somewhat confirms it for me. So I'm looking forward to meeting Lord Boragini, but most importantly, Templar Captain in Dreadwolf. With that, as of April 2024, in the spring, we're now up to speed on the development journey of the next Dragon Age. Let's delve into my main takeaway, which compared to the previous other timeline updates I've done, the one I have right now is that the current BioWare staff attribute the recent failings of Dreadwolf's prolonged development to previous management. And while I approach this topic cautiously, one notable aspect revolves around Matthew Goldman's departure. I mentioned before about the single player pivot being such a huge big deal, yet there were so many departures following that. Initially, Goldman was the art director for Dragon Age Inquisition, and he later assumed the role of creative director following Mike Laidlaw's exit. And so while I'm not trying to point the blame at anybody, current BioWare staff have said that previous management is to blame. And so before Goldman, it was Mike Laidlaw in charge. So, while it feels like it's even heresy to think the thought, could any part of Laidlaw's management be to blame here? Who knows? Going back to this single-player pivot, Goldman's final year at BioWare, there were loads of positive developments. Ultimately, the single-player pivot showcasing the management team's effort to sway EA's decision regarding the future of Dragon Age. It is now in the hands of the developers, the people who love this franchise so much and want to give the fans the best possible game ever. And this was such a successful effort. However, upon Goldman's departure and John Epler's appointment as his successor for the creative director role, former developers expressed enthusiasm for Epler's leadership. And this to me potentially suggests a divergence in Goldman's direction. Is it conceivable that Goldman may not have supported originally a single-player focus for Dragon Age, leading to an internal discord that promoted other management members to advocate for the case directly to EA, thus resulting in an internal struggle over the direction of the project? We know for a fact that a lot of BioWare did support the idea of a multiplayer game. Heck, I think it would be a cool concept if done correctly, and if not done as the fourth entry of a single-player RPG. Now, regardless of the details and my somewhat tinfoily nature, the consequences of past BioWare management failures are clear. Whoever it belongs to, whoever's fault it is, Dragon Age Dreadwolf has since faced extended development, undergone more than 3 reboots if we are including this single-player pivot, which we know has certainly delayed and somewhat rebooted the game. The studio has seen numerous departures, including both long-standing members and also those with shorter tenures. And most notably, if team members and department heads weren't willingly leaving the studio, then they were being affected by ongoing mass layoffs to exit the studio, further complicating Dreadwolf's journey towards this soon-to-be-announced release date. And so ultimately, I pose this question, is it ultimately the failings of previous management that has led to the dire consequences of Dreadwolf's long-delayed development? Well, it certainly seems to be the case. Until the game is finally in our hands playable, all of this is just talk, rumour, and subjective speculation, all on a sequel we've been waiting 10 years for. And so I guess ending this video with Mark Darrah's words, soon, folks, soon. With that, let me know what you think about my conclusive musings here, and also do you have any other conclusions to make? Any other connections with recent news that have become even more apparent as we holistically tie this all together as of April 2024? Let me know all of that down below, but of course, until the next one, you are already in the right place for the latest on Dragon Age Dreadwolf as we follow through this game's development and hopefully get a fantastic game at the end of it, despite the drama and despite the politics. But until the next one, I have been Jackdaw and I should go. Whoa, 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 whoa.